Hey everybody, Josh Brown back with another edition of this special 6-part series talking about what you need to do to get a podcast started. So far, just to review, we've talked about the name. How important is a name for your podcast? Number 2, the specific graphic and size that you need for your podcast. Now, the next thing we need to talk about is where your podcast is going to live. Your podcast has to have a home. The place where your podcast lives generates an RSS feed. Don't get too confused. It's okay. The RSS feed is just the address where your podcast lives, and it's how you tell all of the directories like iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play what's happening with your podcast. When you add new content to that RSS feed, iTunes sees it, Spotify sees it, Google Play sees it, and then they display that new content in their directories. So the next step you need to take is to pick a host for your podcast. So let's go over to the computer. I'm going to show you a few of the hosts that we really recommend. Okay, so the number one piece that we really like in hosting is a platform that has a lot of options and a lot of things that you can use to make your podcast more successful. And for the faith-based community, the number one podcast host that we recommend is Subsplash. Subsplash.com. So quite a few of our clients here at His Productions host their podcast and the rest of their church's media on Subsplash. So definitely, if you're a faith-based community, we would tell you to check out Subsplash. They have a ton of other options as well, not just podcasts. They do websites. Looks like they do giving. They do a ton of stuff. So Subsplash would be our number one choice for podcast hosting for faith-based organizations. Another great option is Anchor.fm. And if you type in Anchor.fm, it now says Spotify for podcasters. Why? Because Spotify now owns Anchor.fm. This is a free option for you. Anchor.fm, Spotify for podcasters is a great option because Spotify is the number one podcast directory. It's actually larger than Apple iTunes. So we would tell you to check out Spotify for podcasters. It's a great option to host your website. Another couple hosting companies that we have some experience with is Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout.com. You can see here's a podcast right here called Answers for Life that we work on. You go back to Spotify, we have quite a few podcasts here in Spotify as well that we help facilitate. And then another podcast platform that's pretty good is Podbean. Podbean is another great hosting platform. So your next step is to consider, who am I going to host my podcast with? Your podcast has to have a home.